Are you putting him up amongst Lampard and Gerrard?
It's got a way to go because what we're seeing from Declan Rice today, those players did for a decade. So he can, absolutely. He's got everything in his locker to get to that level.
This new Declan Rice position is a serious problem. At first glance, it seems straightforward enough. Declan Rice has been pushed further forward, but if you think that's all there is to it, you're missing what makes this so dangerous.
He must be the perfect player for any manager.
It's a manager's dream. He's a manager's dream, he really is.
Here's the thing. Rice didn't grow up playing as a midfielder. He was molded as a center back, learning to defend space, sense danger before it developed, and snuff out attacks in their infancy. That defensive foundation shaped him into one of the Premier League's best holding midfielders. And now, Mikel Arteta's turned that foundation into a weapon further up the pitch.
Declan Rice! That's it!
Since arriving at Arsenal, Rice has gradually transformed from a defensive anchor into a left-sided number 8 who protects you defensively while hurting you offensively. Look at the numbers: 7 goals and 8 assists in 2023/24, 4 goals and 7 assists in 2024/25, and already 4 goals in 2025/26. Those late runs into the box, those crucial finishes in big moments. Here's what makes him such a nightmare for opponents. You can't press him like you would a typical midfielder. You can't simply run past him like most number 8s. You can't catch him out in transition, because he still reads the game like a defender. With Martin Zubimendi anchoring the base, Rice has the freedom to push higher, win those crucial second balls, and convert his defensive instincts into attacking threats. He's killing counterattacks before they even begin, then popping up at the other end to finish chances. This isn't just a tactical adjustment, it's a genuine structural advantage. Because when someone with a center back's defensive intelligence starts scoring goals from midfield, you've got a serious problem on your hands. And that's exactly why no team in the Premier League has quite figured out how to stop this version of Declan Rice.
The best midfield player in the Premier League? Oh, he's very close.
Before Declan Rice became one of the most dominant midfielders in English football, before the goals, the late runs, his understanding of the game was forged somewhere completely different. It started at the back. Declan Rice didn't grow up thinking like a number 8 or even a number 6. His entire early development was shaped as a center back, primarily on the left side of defense. And that matters far more than it might seem, because it fundamentally changed how he sees the pitch. At youth level, Rice was taught to defend space first, not chase the ball, to scan constantly, to hold his position, to step in at the right moment, not just the first moment. These are center back instincts, and they've never left him. Rice started his youth career at Chelsea, where he was consistently deployed as a defender. When he made the move to West Ham United, that path continued. At West Ham's academy, Rice remained a center half, not a midfielder learning to defend, but a defender learning to read the entire game unfolding in front of him. His coaches doubled down on his natural strengths, reading danger before it fully develops, winning duels without lunging in recklessly, staying calm under pressure. When he broke into the first team during the 2017-18 season, that defensive foundation didn't just fade away. If anything, it became even more obvious. Rice was regularly used as a center back in a back 3, especially on the left side, or as a hybrid center back / defensive midfielder, stepping forward to engage but always protecting the space behind him. This wasn't just about filling a gap, it was genuine tactical trust. At just 18 and 19 years old, Rice was being asked to defend wide channels against seasoned Premier League attackers, step into midfield to cut off passing lanes, manage transitions like a veteran defender. Those kinds of responsibilities accelerate your football intelligence fast. You simply can't survive there on athleticism alone. Here's the crucial point that needs landing early. Rice didn't learn how to tackle first. He learned when not to tackle. That distinction is everything. As a center back, mistakes get punished immediately. One step too early, one mistimed press, and your entire defensive line collapses. Rice learned restraint, he learned patience, he learned how to kill danger before most people even see it coming. That's why even now Rice rarely dives into tackles, intercepts, rather than chases, wins duels without breaking the team's shape. Those traits didn't come from being a midfielder who was coached to defend. They came from being a defender who was coached to survive. As West Ham gradually shifted Rice into midfield, something interesting happened. Most players making that transition from defense to midfield need time to figure out where to position themselves, how to receive the ball under pressure, how to manage threats coming from every direction. Rice already already had those skills, because as a center back who regularly stepped into midfield zones, he'd already spent years receiving passes with pressure bearing down from the front, playing forward balls through congested areas, organizing teammates positioned ahead of him. So when he eventually settled into the number 6 role, it didn't look like a conversion. It looked like a natural evolution. He defended midfield space the same way a center back defends the edge of their box, screening passing lanes, winning second balls, slowing down transitions instead of frantically chasing them. This is where his reputation as an elite defensive midfielder was truly born, but the roots were still entirely defensive. This chapter matters because it explains something Premier League teams are currently struggling to deal with. Rice doesn't panic under midfield pressure because he was trained in positions where mistakes are absolutely fatal. He doesn't get dragged out of position because he learned discipline before he ever learned freedom, and he understands defensive balance so deeply that he can now afford to take calculated risks further up the pitch. What you're seeing today, the goals, the surging runs, the perfectly timed late arrivals, is all built on years of learning how to shut down danger as a defender. This is the foundation of the entire story, because once a player like this masters the number 6 role and then gets pushed even higher up the pitch, that's when the game starts to tilt in ways opponents can't quite handle. By the time Declan Rice became West Ham's full-time holding midfielder, the switch wasn't just center back moving into midfield, it was a defender's brain being given the keys to the middle of the pitch, and the numbers show how quickly that role hardened into elite level output. Rice's early Premier League development has a clear statistical arc that matches the tactical story. In his debut Premier League season, 2017/18, he was still moving between defense and midfield, and his ball-winning volume reflected a young player finding his feet. 4.6 possession wins per 90. A season later, when he'd moved further away from being a back 3 center half and closer to a true number 6, those ball-winning numbers jumped to 8.6 possession wins per 90. And by 2022/23, the finished product version of Rice at West Ham was doing it at 9.2 possession wins per 90. Not just elite, but league-defining. That final step matters. It's the difference between a good defensive midfielder and one who quietly dictates what opponents are allowed to do. The 2022/23 season is when Rice became a genuine reference point. The Premier League's own Opta-led analysis of that campaign basically reads like a profile of a world-class number 6. Rice finished the league season with 334 possession wins, the most in the Premier League. Only Rodri also crossed 300. Rodri 301. He registered a competition high 63 interceptions in the Premier League that season. That pairing, winning the ball back and intercepting passing lanes, tells you what he was: a one-man reset button. West Ham could lose structure, lose territory, lose the ball, and Rice would restore order. Here's a detail that speaks to those center back habits showing up in midfield. In 2022/23, Rice was dribbled past only 20 times in the league. That's 0.6 times per 90, a better rate than several high-profile Premier League midfield stoppers listed in the same Opta analysis. That is classic defender DNA. Stay balanced, don't overcommit delay, and funnel the attacker into pressure. Win the duel when the odds are in your favor. It's also the hidden reason he became so trusted as West Ham's screen. A team can survive a number 6 who occasionally gets beaten. They cannot survive a number 6 who gets beaten cleanly in transition zones. Rice simply didn't. A number 6's life is basically repeated conflict, second balls, loose touches, shoulder-to-shoulder battles, and covering spaces that everyone else vacates. In 2022/23, Rice posted a 58.6% dual success rate in Premier League play, and in Opta's filtering of midfielders who competed in 200+ duels, only a small group recorded a higher success percentage. So when you describe Rice as an elite number 6, you're not leaning on reputation, you're leaning on repeatable dominance in the ugliest part of midfield football: contact, collisions, and winning the ball back. Here's where things get more interesting, because this is the bridge to Arsenal's later decision to push him forward. In 2022/23, Rice scored 4 Premier League goals, his best league return up to that point, but even more revealing is how often he was involved in sequences that created shots. 138 attacking sequence involvements in the Premier League, most of any West Ham player that season. Those sequences included 32 shots, 30 chances created, and 76 involvements in the build-up to a shot. That's a key point. Rice wasn't a destroyer who handed the ball off and disappeared. He was West Ham's connector, winning it, carrying it, and then being involved again when the move became dangerous. One of the simplest ways to describe Rice's West Ham number 6 era is this. He was doing high-volume midfield work in a team that didn't dominate possession. Opta's breakdown shows 2,083 passes in the Premier League in 2022/23, nearly double most teammates, and among the highest totals for midfielders. 88.1% pass completion, ranked among the best for midfielders with 1,000 plus pass attempts. And importantly, he wasn't padding stats with sideways touches. He attempted 607 forward passes, one of the top totals among midfielders that season. So the West Ham version of Rice wasn't just a shield, he was progression, he was structure, he was tempo. This is one of the most important pieces of evidence for why Arteta would eventually move him forward. In 2022/23, Rice logged 597 carries in the Premier League. Only Rodri had more, 702. And the same Opta analysis points out something even more telling. In 2021/22, Rice recorded 716 carries, a rate of 20.3 carries per 90. That's not a typical sit-and-screen midfielder profile. That's a player who breaks lines with his legs, not just his passing. In other words, the box-to-box Rice wasn't created at Arsenal. The raw material was already visible at West Ham. Arsenal simply moved it closer to goal. If you want a clean, credible European proof point to anchor this chapter, UEFA gives you the perfect one. Rice captained West Ham's Europa Conference League winning run and was named UEFA Europa Conference League Player of the Season 2022/23. UEFA's published stats for his campaign, group stage to final, are 11 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist, 92.6% passing accuracy, 11.33 kilometers covered per match, 31.4 kilometers per hour top speed. Those numbers tell a complete number 6 story: athletic range, elite passing security, and presence every single night. So when Arsenal went for Rice, the logic was obvious. They weren't just buying a good midfielder, they were buying the most complete stability package available in the league. A midfielder who was rarely dribbled past, a high-volume passer who still played forward, a powerful carrier who could break pressure, a European winning captain with elite tournament metrics. But this is where the story begins to pivot into the central thesis of your documentary. Once you bring a number 6 like that into a more dominant team, he stops being a protector only, he becomes an advantage. You can move around the pitch, and that's exactly what Arteta eventually did. When Mikel Arteta first signed Declan Rice for Arsenal, the logic was crystal clear. Rice was the league's most complete defensive midfielder. He would protect a high line, stabilize possession, and give Arsenal control in the biggest moments. That plan worked, but it didn't last, because Arteta quickly realized something that now defines this Arsenal team. Rice's defensive excellence didn't need to stay at the base of midfield. It could be moved forward without sacrificing control, and that's where the real problem for the Premier League begins. Arteta's shift was subtle at first. Rice still dropped deep when needed, still covered center backs, still screened transitions. But his starting position changed. Instead of living in front of the defense, Rice began to operate as a left-sided number 8, higher between the lines, closer to the box, with license to press forward rather than just hold position. Crucially, this wasn't some reckless box-to-box gamble. It was a calculated upgrade. Rice brought number 6 instincts into number 8 territory. The easiest way to explain the shift is this. Rice stopped defending after Arsenal lost the ball and started defending before opponents could even use it. In the left number 8 role, Rice now steps onto second balls immediately, wins duels higher up the pitch, cuts off counters at source, and forces turnovers in advanced zones. And the numbers back that up. Across his Arsenal seasons, even as his attacking output rose, his defensive work never disappeared. In 2023/24, playing predominantly as a left-sided number 8, 83 tackles, 44 interceptions, 156 duels, won 39 aerial duels. Those aren't luxury midfielder numbers. Those are defensive midfielder numbers, just relocated higher up the pitch. Once Rice started operating closer to goal, the returns became impossible to ignore. In 2023/24, his first Arsenal season, 7 goals, 8 assists, 71 touches in the opposition box, 15 shots on target inside the box, 21 shots on target outside the box, XG XG 3.34. This is the key insight. Rice didn't suddenly become an attacking midfielder. He became an arriver. Because he understands defensive timing better than most attackers, he knows exactly when to go. When the box is destabilized, when defenders are ball watching, when space opens up late. That's defender intelligence being applied offensively. In 2024/25, the role became more refined, not diminished. Rice's raw numbers dipped slightly, but his influence actually expanded. 4 goals, 7 assists, 87 touches in the opposition box, a clear increase. XG 3.51. This tells an important story. Rice was no longer just finishing moves. He was starting them, recycling pressure, sustaining attacks, and keeping Arsenal locked into the opponent's half. Defensively, he still delivered 53 tackles, 25 interceptions, 120 duels won. Even with reduced minutes, the balance remained. Arsenal were getting defensive security and attacking continuity from the same player. By 2025/26, the transformation is no longer theoretical. Rice is now starting higher, pressing aggressively, attacking the box decisively, and delivering on set pieces. So far this season, 4 goals, 3 assists, 31 touches in the opposition box, XG 2.45, XA 3.444, free kick goals from 4 attempts, 33 tackles, and 18 interceptions in just 1,609 minutes. This is where Premier League teams start running out of solutions. Rice is scoring like a midfielder who lives near the box, while still defending like one who used to live in front of the back 4. Most pressing systems are built around predictable midfield roles. You press the number 6 because he receives facing his own goal. You track the number 8 because he arrives late but doesn't defend transitions alone. Rice breaks both assumptions. As a former defender, he's comfortable receiving under pressure, protects the ball with his body, and doesn't panic when surrounded. As a number 8, he drives forward immediately after regains, arrives late into scoring zones, and wins second balls that keep pressure alive. That combination makes him extremely difficult to trap. Press him aggressively and he rides the contact. Leave him free and he progresses play or arrives in the box. Try to outrun him and his athleticism closes the gap. This positional shift didn't just change Rice, it changed Arsenal. With Rice operating higher, Arsenal win the ball earlier, attacks reset faster, counterattacks are stopped before they form, and sustained pressure becomes the default state. And crucially, Rice still drops when needed. This fluidity keeps Arsenal structurally sound even while committing numbers forward. This is why Arteta trusted the move. He didn't lose a defensive midfielder, he gained a two-way force. This is the turning point of the story. Rice's journey from defender to number 6 made him elite. Arteta's decision to push him into the number 8 role made him decisive. He now plays in a space where he can protect Arsenal's structure, win midfield battles, and directly decide matches. And once a player with center-back instincts starts influencing games at both ends of the pitch, the league has to adapt. Because the next evolution, how this role becomes even more dangerous with Arsenal's midfield structure, takes the problem to another level entirely. This is where Declan Rice's new position stops being an individual story and becomes a system problem for the Premier League, because Rice moving forward only works if something else locks the structure in place. That something is Martin Zubimendi. Arsenal didn't add Zubimendi to improve aesthetics. They added him to stabilize the base. Zubimendi plays as a classic number 6, holds central space, screens passing lanes, receives under pressure and recycles possession, and rarely vacates the zone in front of the center backs. That role matters because it allows Declan Rice to stay higher for longer, without Arsenal losing defensive balance. Before, Rice often had to choose: step forward and risk exposing the defense, or hold position and limit attacking influence. Now, that dilemma is gone. Zubimendi protects the back 4. Rice attacks the next phase of the game. The most important phrase in modern elite football is rest defense, how a team is positioned when it has the ball to stop counterattacks before they start. With this midfield structure, Arsenal's rest defense is brutally efficient. Behind the ball, you typically see William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, Zubimendi holding central space, and Rice positioned just ahead, ready to step in. That gives Arsenal numerical superiority against counters, immediate pressure on second balls, and recovery speed if the first duel is lost. This is why Rice's defensive numbers remain strong even as his attacking output rises. In 2025/26, despite playing higher, 33 tackles, 18 interceptions, interceptions, 67 duels, won 24, aerial duels, won. Those aren't the stats of a midfielder who's been released from defending. They're the stats of a midfielder defending earlier and higher. Because Zubimendi anchors the base, Rice can now arrive late into the box, carry the ball aggressively through midfield, press center backs and defensive midfielders, and stay close to the action after turnovers. That freedom shows up clearly in his attacking profile. Across his Arsenal seasons, touches in the opposition box rise when he plays higher. His XG consistently outperforms his deeper role seasons, and his goal returns increase without sacrificing duel volume. In 2023/24, Rice combined 7 goals and 8 assists with 83 tackles and 44 interceptions. That duel output is the heart of Arsenal's advantage. Traditionally, teams tried to beat Arsenal by overloading central midfield, forcing turnovers, and attacking space behind the press. This structure makes that extremely difficult. If you overload the middle, Zubimendi holds position, Rice collapses space from the left, and one of Arsenal's center backs steps in behind them. If you try to counter quickly, Rice kills the transition early or delays it long enough for Arsenal to reset. If you sit deep, Rice arrives late into the box, sustains pressure with second ball wins, and keeps Arsenal camped in your half. There is no safe choice anymore. This system only works because Arsenal trusts their defenders. With Saliba and Gabriel holding a high line, Arsenal can compress the pitch, keep distances short, and allow Rice to press aggressively without fear. That's why Rice's pressing doesn't look reckless. It's coordinated. When he steps forward, the line steps with him, Zubimendi fills the space behind, and the team stays compact. This is controlled aggression, not chaos. This isn't a flat double pivot. Zubimendi and Rice don't mirror each other. They complement each other. Zubimendi stays, Rice moves. Zubimendi protects, Rice disrupts. And because Rice understands defensive structure better than most attacking midfielders, he never abandons the team shape when he goes forward. That's the defender's brain still working. At this point, Premier League teams face an unsolvable equation. Press Arsenal high, Rice rides pressure and drives forward. Sit in a mid-block, Rice dominates second balls and sustains attacks counter quickly. Rice stops it early, Zubimendi cleans up. This is not about one player having a good season. It's about a role that combines center back discipline, number 6 intelligence, and number 8 production, all in one profile. This midfield structure explains why Declan Rice's new position feels different. He's no longer just protecting Arsenal, he's controlling when opponents are allowed to breathe. With Zubimendi anchoring behind him, Rice operates in the most damaging space on the pitch, where he can end attacks and start goals. And once a team can do both, from the same player consistently, the league is forced to chase shadows. Declan Rice's journey explains the problem: a defender's brain, a number 6 discipline, now deployed as a number 8 with freedom to decide games. With Arsenal's structure behind him, Rice can protect you and hurt you in the same action. He wins the ball higher, arrives later, and still shuts transitions down before they start. This isn't a hot streak or a tactical fad. It's a role built on years of defensive education and now fully unlocked. And until the league finds a way to stop a midfielder who thinks like a center back, this version of Declan Rice will keep deciding games.